That was the best too when they walked up and they go, "Is he okay?" He's like, "He just got stabbed. He's lying
There's
there."
a hole in his thorax. No, he's not okay.
I think
Nick.
he's hurt.
He's probably gonna die.
It was a quiet Saturday morning.
Szalinski! Give it a rest! It's Saturday!
Professor Wayne Szalinski was hard at work on his new invention
This thing works. It'll put us right up there with the invention of electricity.
that didn't quite work.
Did you get the machine to work?
A few more bugs to get out.
Then something quite unexpected
Where are
happened.
the kids?
I haven't seen them since I left this morning.
It shrunk the kids.
Nick, what happened?
It works. Diane, I got something real important to tell you.
Are you trying to tell me?
The machine works? Do the kids know?
Well, yeah, the kids know.
That's great!
It's not that great.
Why?
I shrunk the kids, and the Thompson kids too. They're about this big. Threw them out with the trash.
What?
They're in the backyard.
Walt Disney Pictures presents The Last Frontier.
Dad can fix us, right, Nick? Sprinklers!
I'll tell you, their size. It's a jungle out there.
Nicky, get out of there!
Now, while the professor is looking for the kids,
Just gotta keep our eyes open.
they're taking matters into their own hands.
I say that ant is ours!
They better behave themselves.
Something's very weird here.
What is it? Earthquake! No, worse!
Rick Moranis is Professor Wayne Szalinski.
Are you saying that machine
Blew up my kid?
no.
If the machine had blown up the kids, there'd be pieces of them everywhere.
Wayne, did you report some missing children?
Oh, there must be some mistake. Ours are in the backyard. Right, honey?
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
We're all the size of boogers! Dad, don't eat me!
First impressions.
It's so uplifting for him almost getting eaten alive.
It's a movie listed as an adventure comedy, a family adventure comedy, but no part of that leads to or insinuates that it's also a horror movie, because this is a horror movie that we've just watched.
But it's so upbeat, the music and everything.
It's
is
an
like,
upbeat family horror.
They've
is
taken
what-
things into their own hands.
Well, the tagline for this movie, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, is the scientist father of a teenage girl and boy accidentally shrinks his and two other neighborhood teens to the size of insects. Now the teens must fight diminutive dangers as the father searches for them.
I saw that one. Did you see the other description?
No.
All right, buckle up. I had to look up several of these words.
Okay, excellent.
On the brink of perfecting his state-of-the-art matter shrinking machine, the suburban paterfamilias, an indefatigable inventor, and I had to look up what that.
Yeah, no, you feel free to give
someone
me any
who
definitions.
never gets tired of doing something.
Okay,
fine. You couldn't
He's
say
committed.
like
he's committed to the game.
determined.
Yeah. Well, that actually lends itself to something that happens later in the movie, so it'll perfectly tie in.
Okay, great. So, indefatigable inventor Professor Wayne Szalinski realizes that his device truly works when it zaps both his kids and next-door neighbor's sons. Now, to return to the relative safety of their home while being reduced to a mere quarter-inch size, they must venture out into the dense and perilous landscapes of their now immense backyard, a hostile environment where nearly everything spells trouble. Can they exit the green maze of grass in one piece?
Wow, that was poetry.
Plots done poorly.
Mine is a brilliant scientist but idiot dad shrinks his kids and almost kills them. Almost.
And I had a scientist nearly loses his wife, gets fired from his job, and eats one of his own children, and all in this family horror comedy.
I have so many questions too about the whole mom-dad fight thing.
They waste no time. It's right from the beginning, marital problems. Like,
Mom
we're in
sleeping at
trouble.
grandma's. Why? No one knows.
Right. It's just we're in the there's not like the happy family into the troubled family. It's just we're having problems. Not only are they having problems, the neighbors also not on great terms seemingly.
Maybe. I think Russ Thompson is just a dick.
Well, also that he is a dick. But the interaction with the two of them and the cops is very one of those like, are you okay? Like
Right.
the wife is like screaming with her
Blink
eyes, like
twice.
all the like passive aggressive commentary. You're like,
Absolutely.
do we need to say more or stay for a little bit longer here? Like what?
And he comes in a little aggressive.
Absolutely.
My kids can tell me anything.
All right, let's take it from the top.
1989, PG. I thought appropriately rated.
One hell. Oh, I thought maybe there was more, and I think that was it. I think it was like the most they pushed it.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
No, and a couple of cigarettes. Maybe
Yep.
I don't do cigarettes alter the
And near
rating
death.
at this point. And
Other than that,
a couple times where kids should have got killed.
6.4 on IMDb, which seems to be in the range of these kids' movies, like between 5.5 and like 7.2 or something.
Yeah, that's fair.
Fine. 76 on Rotten Tomatoes, which now that we have revealed Rotten Tomatoes is
The fix is
rigged.
in. Yeah, there's
I don't
some.
even know if we care about that.
There's
but
some payola going on with
kept
Rotten
it for old
Tomatoes.
time's
Yeah,
sake.
we got to keep it just for the knowledge.
Okay, so I think
It's
that
all
all
fair.
checks out.
So this season, this chunk, this bunch of episodes, I'm now including. So we have the Rotten Tomatoes and the IMDb. Now I'm including the Metascore, which doesn't actually veer too far. It says 63.
Yeah.
But what the Metascore does is it takes ratings that publishings, newspapers put together, and they average that. So that's where we can tie in the reviews too.
Okay.
Which perfectly rolls into what I'm about to say.
Oh,
so
yes. And I didn't look up any reviews.
as you
just
shouldn't,
in
because there's
anticipation.
gold here. So Variety and Washington Post had it as high as 80.
Okay.
The Chicago Sun-Times, LA Times, Miami Herald, and Portland Oregonian as low as 50. So
That's low.
there's a range. So
Okay.
on the lighter side of things, Variety said, in the best tradition of Disney, and even better than that, because it is not so juvenile that adults won't be thoroughly entertained. So Variety's happy. Washington Post, director Joe Johnston, a veteran of industrial light and magic, brings a wry Rube Goldberg approach to his first ever feature. The sets are definitely plastic, but that slightly homemade look is refreshing in the hardware movie decade. So again, it's like a little slight.
Backhanded compliment.
It's like it's bad, but I like it. It
looks
adds to it.
crappy, but nostalgic.
And the Chicago Tribune gave it a 75 and said, it's the happiest surprise of the summer so far, a children's film from Walt Disney Productions that effortlessly renews the best tradition of that studio's live-action features. So
Okay.
what bad things could there be to say about this movie? Well, let's go on the other side of the country, the
good.
LA Times. In a weird way, what happens to the kids is what happens to the movie. The humans shrivel to crawling piffles or get deformed in the caterwauling robots. The super tall grass and the giant cookies and insects take over. So not great, not necessarily tearing it apart, but
It doesn't seem like a huge knock.
no, it's just a little, it's kind of, again, a little passive aggressive. The Miami Herald said the movie is sweet and reflects Disney's usual care, but there's nothing in it to match that title.
Other than the kids shrinking? What do you mean?
I loved that because I was like, wait, did he not watch the movie?
What do you mean?
The Portland Oregonian said Shrunk is a sometimes funny, occasionally clever comedy adventure, but the fun stuff consumes only about 1/4 of the film, nowhere near enough for a feature-length movie.
Okay.
And finally, our good friend from the Chicago Sun-Times, Roger Ebert,
Yep.
2 out of 4 stars.
Okay.
I've been trying to figure out exactly what's missing in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. The special effects are all there, nicely in place, and the production values are sound, but the movie is dead in the water. It tells an amazing and preposterous story, and it seems bored by it. It uses the same sorts of visual effects we remember from The Incredible Shrinking Man, but it lacks the same sense of fun. This should have been funny, but it's not, and we see the same process again and again.
They're riding bees and ants. What is not fun about?
Well, so, I mean, that very much, a couple of those scenes definitely lended itself to like, how much of this is a comedy and how much of this is actually terrifying? Because the
scorpion.
the scorpion, there were some real intense scenes where you're just like,
Yeah.
are we having fun
God.
anymore? And it all made sense because the writers of this movie, Stuart Gordon, Brian Usna, and Ed Neha, all writers for horror films.
Really?
Reanimator, Beyond Reanimator. One of the writers wrote The 10 Commandments. The scary movie Troll, if you remember that one from the 90s.
do
yes.
I ever.
So you've got 3 horror movie writers writing a kids movie. And then director Joe Johnston, who went on to Captain America, The Wolfman, Jurassic Park 3, The Rocketeer, Jumanji. Like he was no slouch.
Mm-hmm.
So kids movie, action movie director, horror movie writers.
And I was looking to see awards then too, like for special effects, and it won the 1991 BAFTA Best Special Visual Effects, but nothing more than that. But I think BAFTA is reputable.
The British Academy of Film and Television Arts. Yeah.
The Brits love it.
The Brits love it. And for good reason. The special effects are solid.
Yeah.
Like they work, especially. And I imagine if I could go back to my, whenever we saw it, 7 or 8 years old, saw that and was probably like absolutely blown away by it. It was nominated for some other awards in the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror, which again makes sense. These are the writers. This is where they come from, fantasy and horror.
Can I give you another nominee?
Yes.
The Society for the Preservation of English Language and Literature. Did you see this?
Oh, well, I'm a subscriber to their monthly brochure and their pamphlet.
The abbreviation is SPELL of the company.
How long did they take to think of that? Like that was they started with spell and they're like, let's work it in. I don't care what the words
Society
are.
for Preservation of English Language and Literature. So they awarded the movie with the 1989 Dunce Cap Award, citing the title's grammatical error of using the word shrunk instead of shrank. And then an unnamed Disney executive responded that the incorrect usage was on purpose and directly referenced a line of dialogue. I don't know if I buy that or not.
Take that spell. See, you come.
If
you come for the king, you better not miss. You know what I mean? And you know what? That dunce cap obviously hindered their success. It had a budget of $18 million. It grossed $222 million.
My God!
This is the most successful movie we've reviewed. That is 12. It made 12 times its budget.
And I saw it had several sequels.
Sequels, prequels, spin-offs, and such.
Honey, I Blew Up the Baby.
Mm-hmm.
Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves is a little more recent.
Okay.
It was like, I didn't look up the year, but it was a bunch later. And I couldn't get through the whole thing of that. At one point,
Is that rough?
they're in bubbles and they're all adults because it's We Shrunk Ourselves. And they're like going down the stairs or like over a landing. Like, okay, if this bubble pops, you're plummeting to your death. So is this funny?
That's kind of a good review of this movie too. So much of it is like, it's funny until it's not because they're about to die.
Right.
People are about to die.
But there was also a TV series that ran for 3 seasons. I was unaware of that. Same name,
idea.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. So, it was very successful.
Well, it makes sense because the whole time I was wondering, I was like, how was this not a TV show? Like, for all the success, like, this feels like it was primed for it.
Well,
so.
it was. There you have it.
So, as a child, do you remember liking it? Do you remember watching it?
Yes. For 2 reasons. And I brought this up to you.
Mm-hmm.
Tummy Trouble was the name of it, I believe, with Baby Herman and Roger Rabbit.
Yes.
That was the opening of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember having the VHS tape. And so that was the first thing that came out. And it made me want to watch Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Okay.
And so then that was apparently a pretty good promotion, going across other movies. So great. And then the opening credits of the kids, like...
The opening credits are awesome.
Going through the...
Yep.
The paper airplane and like floating around like that. I remember distinctly.
That was my first note, was like, this is like Bobby's World meets Willy Wonka, Catch Me If You Can. Like it's such a good opening sequence.
And then the font is like bugs moving and like eyeballs. It was really cool. Again, bordering, to your point, like horror comedy, but really well done.
That was the first moment when I said, how is it not a TV show? Because just however the credits were animated, I was like, I would watch this as a TV show. Like, and especially at that age when we saw that, I would definitely
an animated
been like,
show.
I would have loved it. So I remember, I don't have like distinct memories of like, yes, I remember these parts of it. I do remember watching it when I was younger. My more specific memory that's related to this movie is that around that time, Disney had a part of their park, Disney World had the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids park.
Yes.
This is the time that I went as a kid.
Same.
And at that time, what I do have a vivid memory of is I remember going down a slide.
Yep.
For some reason, I thought I knew my mom was behind me, but by the time I started the slide and ended the slide, I thought she was in front of me. That's how quickly my memory went. So by the time my feet hit the ground, I just took off and was gone for, I don't know, probably 30 seconds, but what felt like a long time.
Sure.
So I got lost in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids park. And at the exact time my mom found me and was like very upset, then some friends from that were like from back home. We ran into them as that scene's unfolding. She's like, "Oh, hi, nice to see you."
Really?
Right as that happens, yeah. So
They just so happened to be
just
there?
so they had no idea they were
Are
there.
you sure this wasn't a dream?
This is all
Like,
just a
and
fever
you were
dream.
there, and you?
Weren't you there? And Peter was there, and Tinkerbell. Yeah. So
Wow. I remember going there as well, checking out the area. They had the giant Cheerios, and then they showed the green screen of like how the bee flight was done.
Yeah.
And I think they picked someone from the crowd,
Sure.
not me, but someone.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Okay, here it is." And you're like, "This is so simple.
Yeah.
We could be making movies.
why aren't we making this movie?
We should have."
So to your point, the opening credits start. They're awesome. Like tease up how the rest of the movie is going to go. It's like fun, funny, but also a little scary, a little
bit.
horrifying. Right out the gate. So not only is there the marital trouble that they establish, but one of the first jokes they make, the daughter Amy says something about her friends where they broke up for religious differences.
Yes.
And I was like, definitely if they remake that today, that joke's out. Like
Because he thought he was God and she disagreed.
yeah. I was like, not a bad joke, but I guarantee that setup is at least tweaked.
Clever.
Yeah. Not a bad joke.
But again, they're just skirting around
Yeah.
how mom and dad got in a fight. Mom slept at grandma's. So I'm wondering, okay, how bad was this fight? The first time they interact, she asks how the conference goes.
Yeah.
She seems fine. And he's just like, maybe I'll get my whole job back. I don't know. Things will be different around here. And she's looking around seeing how big of a mess it is. And is like, oh, yeah, okay.
He's on the
But again,
ropes.
so there's that. It's
Yeah.
messy.
Yeah.
That's you sleep at grandma's house because it's messy.
And he can't get that shrink ray to work. So
No.
he's got a lot of work to do. But right from the beginning, you see Rick Moranis. There's something about Rick Moranis that's just like comforting. You're like, what a treasure he is.
Can we
He's just
get into that?
Please. He's the best.
I think he's my first crossover between like kids movies and adult movies.
Sure.
Because
probably for a lot of us at that age.
I watched Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Ghostbusters,
Yeah.
and he's in that, and you're like, oh man, it's the
Yes.
guy from. He's goofy. I think I knew subconsciously he was Canadian before
Yeah.
I knew he was Canadian.
He just emanates the Canadian.
He's just like a
the
weird,
Canadian.
awkward, but nice guy.
Yes.
And we have bashed these dads in all these movies of like, find me a good one.
Yep. This
So
is it.
he nearly kills his children, but he's a good guy.
But he's a good guy.
So I
You take the good with the
love
bad.
him.
Yeah.
My little funny trivia about Rick Moranis is there was a college class that I took, and it was a psychology stats class,
Okay.
which AKA math. I don't know why they wouldn't just call it math, but whatever. It was mandatory. I had to take it. And at the end of this worksheet for homework, because you had to find like the value for X in every problem, it was a throwaway, what do you value question. And it just had like one little line. And most people would probably put like, I don't know, family,
Sure.
friends, whatever, sleeping in on a Saturday. I went the opposite route, and I wrote on the entire back sheet of my page a whole huge ode to Rick Moranis for whatever reason.
Just on a Rick Moranis kick.
This paints a picture of my college experience. This is the type of person I was, where it's just a garbage question. I'm like, I'm glad you asked.
If it's a serious essay, no thank you, but
No.
let me get in here.
But a math/psych stats
Yes.
class.
Yes.
Let me tell you my feelings about Rick Moranis.
Take a seat.
So I wrote seriously like multiple paragraphs about how good of a guy he is. I think I had heard that his wife had cancer, and then he gave up acting.
Wow.
And took care of his kids. So I'm just like gushing over
No
Rick
better.
Moranis.
No one better.
I get the worksheet back, and my professor wrote, "Sounds like he's a great friend."
Like he didn't know who Rick Moranis was.
And I wanted a separate worksheet where I could go, so wait, to be clear, do you not know who Rick Moranis is?
It's almost better
And
left
how
unsaid.
dare you?
Because now you'll just always in the back of your head just wonder, like, did he know and is he now screwing with me? Or
I don't think he was. Knowing this professor, he was not.
Okay.
But so I guess the better question is, did he think I was friends with Rick Moranis?
That one could only hope.
To this day, I would love
if you just bump into
Rick,
each other on
if
the
you're
street.
listening, I'm throwing
Rick,
my
are you
friendship out there.
Please. Just for this professor's sake.
So Rick Moranis and I go way back without him even knowing.
Yeah, there's a history there. Right after you see Rick Moranis, you start to see the cast unfold of all these people from like not even necessarily, there are a few names where like, I definitely know who that is, but also people are like, they look familiar. They were on like 90s shows or in like small parts of 90s movies.
Yeah.
But you've got Ron Thompson, who's Billy from Big. He's the friend in Big.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Jared Rushton.
Yep. You've got the kid who plays Nick. He was the son, the little kid Kevin from Edward Scissorhands, which was after this. Because I was like, I know he's from something.
Right.
And then who's the family? Oh no, I forgot the last name. The family who they're supposed to go on the fishing trip with, the Fullertons,
the Forresters.
The Forresters. Thank you. That wife her name's Gloria in the movie. She's in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead as the receptionist. So there's all these like that guy, that girl.
Spider webs going everywhere.
So right from I knew there's at least a few, and those are the few I found. I'm sure there's more, but that's what I found.
I love Jared Rushton too.
Yeah.
That's his name, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So question for you.
Yeah.
Do you like him better in Big or in this? Because I know you're a big Big
It has
fan.
to be Big. Only it'd be too. You'd have to take it from a clean slate, erase my mind, and show me both.
Yeah.
Because now there's just too much tied to Big. Like that's him. When I saw him, it's like, oh, it's the kid from Big. Like that's what I know.
I kind of feel like he steals scenes in both.
I mean, this movie's got a more prominent role for sure.
But I don't know if they wrote it for him or if he was just great with like being a smart ass.
Yeah. I mean,
kid with good one-liners.
He definitely had the late 80s on a lockdown for smart ass kid, smart ass friend. Like, I'm surprised there wasn't like a ton more of like him in those roles. But like, yeah, as soon as I saw him, I mean, it's funny because he's like this. I mean, he's the same kid. He does it well.
He is. He's the same character. Yeah.
Right when they first show the neighbors, there's like a conversation that goes back and forth. They're in bed. Yep. He's upset with Wayne.
Sure is.
And they have Southern accents for a minute. Like, I don't know if you picked up on this, and I don't know if they were doing it on purpose as like a silly thing, but like the first like minute of conversation is in like a Southern accent, and all of a sudden it's not there, and I was like, what happened?
I took it as he was just tired.
So that could be, but I felt like there was a back and forth that I was like, was this a choice or just some silliness? But that was the first thing that kind of just like got my ears like, oh, what is going on here? What's this about? But
I just wonder what time it actually is at.
In the morning that this is happening?
Yeah, because you see him yelling, it's a Saturday! And then it flips to the Szalinski's eating breakfast.
Yeah.
And then he's late. And I believe on the clock, I wrote it down, that it's 9:30.
So that's late. That's late enough in the morning for projects to start.
And Big Russ is like, so this goes into a whole huge question I have.
Yeah.
I want to get some sleep. We have a 4-hour drive ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
And then 10 minutes later, he gives crap for Little Russ. Oh, thanks for joining the land of the living. Okay, dude, you were asleep 10 minutes ago, and now you're giving your son shit for being a teenager?
Well, if that's not a perfect summary of just being a parent, like, do as I say, not as I do. All right, I've slept in, but you should be up. You're a kid. You need to wake up.
And then he spends the rest of the day like doing inventory on the 95 items they're bringing, which includes, let's see here.
I know you got the list.
Oh, I wrote some of these down for sure. A food processor. What is the over-under on that being used on this fishing trip?
I saw a microwave. I remember him
microwave.
Just fully.
There's water skis. And there are a lot of microwave or TV dinners, so I guess you need a microwave for that. But honestly, everything, there's golf clubs.
For a fishing trip.
Where are you going? And it's a 4-hour drive, so you're supposed to leave in the morning, but then the Forresters stop by in the afternoon, and he's like, oh no, we're not coming. Well, clearly they were planning on stopping there, so I am not buying this. There's something else going on here. Big Russ... I smell something funny.
And right from the moment you meet him, he's just stressed. Like he gets up, his neighbor's woken him up, he's upset. Now he's up and he wants to talk about the fishing trip. His son doesn't want to go on it. Now his other son hits him in the head with an arrow. His neighbor is making him mad. Like he's getting it from all sides. Now granted his wife's trying to help, but like he's not in a good mood. He's a sourpuss.
But maybe he had it coming.
I mean, so I wrote down later on, I was like, I actually think I wrote the exact line. He has it coming. Big Russ has it coming. By the time he's now yelled at everyone and then he yells at the cops multiple times, I'm like, he deserves some humble pie. Like something's coming for him.
Maybe not all of it. A dart or whatever, an arrow with a suction cup and super glue on it.
Sure.
Maybe that's a bit much, but I'd say like 75%.
Yeah.
Also what happens, minus your kids being shrunk and put in the neighbor's backyard.
Sure.
All of that, I'm totally fine with happening.
He was giving off Christopher Lloyd vibes to me. Like I wondered if they ever pitched.
I thought you meant
No,
with Dennis the Menace. It's like looking horrifying.
No, just like they wrote the part thinking of Christopher Lloyd, and they're like, all right, get someone who could just be like kind of wacky and like stressed out like him. Like
he just seems overly agitated.
He is definitely overly agitated. And the scene where he's trying to get his son so his son gets kicked off the football team, and he's like, oh, and
he quit. I thought.
Okay, so he quits the football team. He notices his son ogling Amy, the Szalinski daughter.
Yeah.
And then he puts together, oh, you know what? You need to... I don't know if it was the combination of the two, but he saw that happen, and then the immediate response is they go into the garage to work out. So I missed this scene beginning, and when he's pitching it to me, he goes, well, my coach gave this to me and it helped me build muscle. And I was like, is he pitching steroids to him? And so I had to rewind it to look back, and he just rolled like a like a dumbbell to him. And I was like, if you're not watching the scene, it sounds like he's pitching to give his kid steroids.
I'm sure he wouldn't be against it.
I think
what I know about Big Russ Thompson, I think he'd be okay with it.
And then he's stressed out. He pulls out a cigarette, which the kids note. He only smokes when he's worried, when he's stressed.
When he's really worried, yeah.
So it's a foreshadowing to later smoking scenes.
Yeah.
Ron hits the baseball through the window, and Russ sees this. And my immediate thought was, oh, they're both gonna like cover for each other or run away. So Russ taking Ron to go fess up was like, oh, like I feel like that would not be a standard trope of like a kid's movie to be like, hey, you need to actually go admit that you did this. I'd be like, let's cover this up. No one saw this. Like, let's get out of time.
I think that plays into the whole him watching Amy. Like,
yes.
Oh, well, we have to admit to her, he's super shy and awkward around her. Mm-hmm. My bigger question is, what was Ron Thompson's plan? Their backyards are not large.
He notes it. He even says, he goes, oh, why'd you put your house so close? Yeah. I was like, you're the one playing baseball.
The window should be open. It's a nice day. Oh, yeah, you got the pinpoint accuracy to hit it there. Maybe
do it again.
Hit
I'll give you
it somewhere
$1,000.
else, then hit it between the houses. Like, if you get a hold of it at all, even if you don't,
right,
with a fungo bat that's going over the fence, what is your plan, guy?
The odds of something bad happening are great. They're
99.9%.
And him being mad at them about their house and the proximity, I was dying.
Or aim it toward the street.
Yeah.
Where are you going with this ball?
It's got bad news written.
Have a tennis ball, a wiffle ball,
a rubber. Yeah, I mean, you still would do damage, but still,
a bowling ball that would have gone better.
And then the scene after that, Wayne is at his conference. He's pitching the shrink ray, and the other professors aren't interested / are outwardly just ripping him for it, and not into it. I was like,
pretty aggressive.
Really? Someone's on stage like telling you that he has the technology to make a shrink ray, and you're like nonplussed. You're like, nah, no thanks. I'm like,
I think part of the reason why is at that conference, if you'll note, Wayne pulls his car right up to the steps of the school. He is in a no parking zone. It's very clearly marked, I must say.
That already sets
He's
the
blocking
tone.
The stairwell. Get the heck out of here, guy. If you have a machine that doesn't work, guess what? You're going to get ridiculed. Sorry.
He's a disheveled scientist. He's stressed. It's not going good at home. You know, he can't be held responsible for how good or bad his
parking, Nick? You couldn't find any parking?
Pull it together. They're walking through the grass. They see the stream go by, or the river that they see.
Could be dog pee.
Could be dog pee. Noted that. But when the dead fly floats by, Nick says, "Have a ball, baby."
Yeah, I don't know.
I was hoping you might have some insight on that. What he was thinking, what his thought was.
Like, go jump in. I don't know.
It just stuck out to me as you could have said like really nothing or anything else, and it would have made equally as much sense. So
I agree.
Have a ball, baby. Then Nick falls into the pollen, which he has a pollen allergy.
Yep.
To which his reasoning is, oh well, my nose is too small, the nostrils are too small, I can't breathe it.
Yeah, it's gonna be fine.
You're a smart kid, Nick. He should be dead. He should have died. If he had any kind of pollen allergy, I feel like that would have just been it for Nick. It felt like he got off easy there.
With as smart as he is, he has some blunders, and I have a few of them.
Please.
He calculates that based on their size, they're 3.2 miles from the house. How old are you guys? You can't walk 3 miles?
That's easy for a kid.
I know
like
it's not a straight line.
Yeah.
There's grass. There are scorpions.
Dead flies.
There's an oatmeal cream pie.
Looks delicious.
Oh my God, does that look incredible? But I still feel like, okay, it was 9:30 in the morning having breakfast. Let's say it's 10:30 at this point. So what? They're in California. We got a good 7-8 hours. It's summer till it starts getting dark.
You can get through this easy.
I think we'll be okay.
Yeah.
Granted, when you get to the house, now it's a new set of obstacles.
Sure.
But if the goal is just to get to the house, we're okay. 3 miles away.
Yeah.
Also, the whole thing with the ant, which as a kid, it was like...
Auntie?
You're rooting for the ant. When it's fighting the scorpion, you feel bad. He gets stabbed by the scorpion.
He goes down hard.
Ooh, yeah.
That was the best too when they walked up and they go, "Is he okay?" He's like, "He just got stabbed. He's lying
there's
there."
There's a hole in his thorax. No, he's not okay.
I think he's hurt.
He's probably gonna die. And he goes, "Oh, he won't hurt us. He's just a baby." Ant babies are larvae. It would be a little worm. This is not a worm. So guess what, guy?
It's Auntie. His name's Auntie.
Auntie is not a baby. He's probably a full-grown man ant.
A full-grown baby.
Man ant. Auntie. My aunt.
My Aunt Auntie. I feel like they could have pitched other names for the ant. I feel like it was all Auntie. I felt like was an easy mail-in.
Yeah.
I figured there was other 90s options. Anthony Kiedis.
Okay.
Anthony Hopkins.
Yep.
Anthony Michael Hall. Just a few to snowball.
That would be a good one.
Just a few. I'm
Very
just saying.
timely.
Auntie just felt like they phoned it in a little bit. They could have come up with some other options.
The other thing too about this movie, if you wanted to go full-blown horror movie, do you recall the picture I sent you of what ants actually look like close up under a microscope?
Yes.
Because I printed it.
A horror movie. Essentially just a horror movie.
It looks like the dragon in the Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah.
It is absolutely terrifying. And that's what they actually look like.
Yeah.
So thank God they went the kid-friendly route and made it look like a cute little weird ant.
Auntie would not have been as endearing with that
my
face
goodness.
on his head.
Looks like a killer.
Yeah. So the pollen scene happens and the bee scene and everything. This is where it starts, I feel like, turn from like a fun, family movie to like,
So we could die.
Now, not only these kids get hurt, but their screams, they're on their faces. I'm like, oh, they're fearing for not only pretending to fear for their lives, but they are actually fearing for their lives.
They probably are.
Yeah.
The sets were probably very dangerous.
Yes. So this is where it starts to turn, and the music too with it. I was like, this is now a horror movie. Like we're out of fun family comedy movie into horror movie.
Did you see an earlier version of the script?
I did not.
There were 5 kids, one of which died during the sprinkler sequence.
That's just one.
Well, just one. But one is one too many in a kid's movie. I don't need a kid dying in his backyard. And they're like, well, hopefully Dad can save the rest of us.
And is that like a Saving Private Ryan scene where they're like holding him like after that, or is it just that they blown to bits? Like
I didn't get the details. I didn't read the script. All I saw was that was an early version of the script, which there are a lot of Disney movies that when you hear the original story are way darker.
Yes.
And you're like, good call, Disney. Yeah. That would have been absolutely mortifying.
You'd love to be in those writer rooms, the pitch meetings or this stuff. Like, okay, we're gonna wind back the kid dying and maybe just allergies. Like maybe we can play with that a bit.
Yeah, they're seasonal though, so no big deal.
So it'll be all right. His nostrils too small. It'll check. I'll be all right.
Speaking of other things,
I'm problematic.
The film's original title was called Teeny Weenies.
This is not problematic at all. This is incredible.
Did you see that? Yeah. And you're okay with it?
I think it is a perfect, doesn't fly today. It is a perfect 90s movie name.
Teeny Weenies.
If there was a double feature at the Outdoor Theater, Heavyweights and Teeny Weenies, every time I would have gone every time.
Teeny Weenies.
But the issue with the Teeny Weenies wasn't that it was a dick joke. It was that what is the note? That there's a note on hold on.
I have no idea.
It was rejected on the grounds that it sounded too much like a kid's film with no appeal to adults. That's the issue with it. Not that it's a potential dick joke.
I'm sorry. Teeny Weenies goes too hard into the kids?
Yeah. What adult would want to watch?
Worded.
Well, you know what? That's like a To Catch a Predator sting. If there's any adults buying tickets to Teeny Weenies, you just arrest them right away if they're not with children.
Oh my. Oh my.
Yeah, Teeny Weenies. When I saw that, I was doubled over. I was like, that is incredible. An incredible name for a movie. I'm glad it didn't stick, but Teeny Weenies.
That's...
How that didn't at least get used for some other movie in the 90s, it was sitting right there.
It may have.
I'm not searching it.
That's not
going to my browser history. And so then it's them. They're on their journey. Amy and Ron, they're tumultuous. Those two, they don't have a great relationship, to the point that Amy grabs Ron by the ears and like yanks. It isn't like a tug of the ear. Like, hey, Mister,
got it coming.
He does have it coming. That's true. But she grabs him both ears, both hands.
She's got a younger brother. I'm not going to mess with her.
That's true. She's not screwing around.
Terrifying. No.
And as they're walking away, Ron says to Amy, "I hope your face ends up on a milk carton."
Yeah.
I was like, hope you die. Hope you are dead. Then another line after that I enjoyed was Nick says, "When I crashed, my entire life flashed before my eyes. It didn't take too long."
No.
I was like, that's great. That's just a great line.
I had to create another category of favorite things because usually we rip on them. But there are things that I liked.
I like it.
We're all the size of boogers.
Yeah.
That's a good kid, like, haha, boogers are small.
Boogers are farts.
And
Adam
funny. And then even the concept of Nick letting his friend mow the lawn if he throws in a box of cookies. Genius. You can't even just like mow my lawn for me.
Yeah.
Well, if you sweeten the pot and throw in a box of cookies, sure, then maybe I'll let you do it.
He seems like a smart little dork, but he's got some tricks up his sleeve.
He's crafty, but that's brilliant.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then the oatmeal cream pie.
Oh, it's so good.
I mean, who hasn't seen this movie, or who has seen this movie and hasn't fantasized about like stumbling upon a giant cream pie and just going to town?
Well, and so much of it, like I said, so much of this movie overlaps with other movies where it's like some scenes feel like the Goonies, some scenes feel like this is where Willy Wonka comes into play. It's like them, a giant sweet treat, and you're like, I want to be there. Take you there. I want to go to there. Like that.
Is this real life? And I had seen something that the cream was real.
Awesome.
The cookie was not. Fine. All I'm in for is the cream anyway.
Yeah. So then we come across we come across one of the potentially maybe fits into the problematic category, but the CPR scene.
Yeah.
So the kid he brings Amy back to life, all seemingly well, and Nick asks, where'd you learn that? How did you know how to resuscitate somebody?
French class.
The joke being, French kissing.
Sure.
And I just made out with her, and that somehow brought her back to life.
Effective.
And a callback at the end of the movie.
Yes.
The very last line of the movie.
I think great way to end it.
Sure.
And it even like the little circle out.
The Warner Brothers.
Yes. Yeah. I always thought that was funny.
Yeah. But the CPR scene seemingly rolls the ball down the hill of romance, and now there's a game of cat and mouse the whole rest of the movie where Amy's into him.
Yeah.
But then he's weirdly like mad at her for a little while. Like it's.
Well, he said you were too popular to notice me, and she's like, "Yeah, I was."
And
or
I was.
Am.
She said, "Yeah, I was," and that was stupid. Like she calls herself out in it.
Yeah.
But then later on, they're walking. There must have been something I missed because it seemed like there were sparks between the two of them. And then all of a sudden he says, "Oh, well now you can go back to the mall." And it's like, wait, why are you sour all of a sudden? And then the next scene they're together, he's like sweet on her. I'm like, I can't keep up with these two.
Well, and she does change it too. Cause when they think they're getting close to the house, she's like, well, maybe I'll still be able to go to the mall with Patty.
Yes.
So she's changing her tune.
She is. So at that point, he should be like, "Hey, the signals are there. Like you're missing
signals." He asked
signals.
if she'd be warm enough in the Lego, and she's just like, "Yeah, I'm good."
I'm just saying, little Russ, take it easy. Like she's laying it out before you. Look at the signals. Pay attention.
Maybe I'm never good at that.
Men are from Mars, but come on, like let's meet in the middle here. So this is where the Foresters they come in. They come up in their big RV. It's time for the fishing trip. But Big Russ is, to his credit, he's like, no, we can't go. Like for as much, so that's what I'm getting to. As much as Russ seemingly is an asshole most of this movie, he's like, no, we're not gonna go on the fishing trip. We're gonna save the kids. But to get out of it, he can't quite tell the Foresters what the issue is.
Yeah, my kids are shrunken in the backyard.
My neighbor shrunk my kids and his own kids.
Yeah, or shrank depending on your verbiage.
According to spell. So the problem being that instead of, I guess his excuse is that his wife has plumbing issues.
Yeah.
What is your interpretation of that? Is it she's
pooping a bunch,
or she's constipated, something like that? Because I didn't know if it was more nefarious. I didn't know if it was just let me try to get out of this conversation as quickly as possible. But it's ambiguous enough to be like.
I take it pooping too much.
Yeah.
If she wasn't pooping,
a whole lot of pooping.
That's that's not a problem.
Yeah.
Great. Then we don't have to make any pit stops on the way.
That's true.
Sounds like we'll be fine.
Fair.
But yeah, throwing her under the bus, of course. You can't be like, "Oh, I'm having."
Exactly, it's me. And then he goes back in and she goes, "Oh, you told him the truth?" He's like, and he mulls over. It's like, "No, I actually threw you under the bus and said you shit a lot." You're in the middle of shit.
It's like you just craft your pants.
You ruin the fishing trips because you can't hold your shit. Yeah.
Thanks,
So
honey.
it's a whole lot. Thanks, Big Russ. And at the scene where Don Forrester is talking to Big Russ, Don snaps at his wife pretty aggressively. Like she's getting upset and he's like, honey, like, is any couple in this movie okay? Like no one seems okay.
The Zelinskis talk to each other well. They have problems, but they're communicating.
That's true, which is the key.
Good on them.
Yeah. No one else is.
It's late 80s.
That's true. That could have been an easy divorce and out of that movie situation, but they're fighting. They're fighting for each other.
Yeah.
Good on you, Zelinskis.
Well done.
And all the reveal being he's so mad because it's an $80 deposit. I'm trying to do the math in my head where I was like, what is the amount where I would get mad over losing the deposit? It feels like under 100 is not worth the ups, but inflation, 20, 30 years since then, maybe $80 then means more.
Either way, I think that's the perfect amount where like he just looks like a total jackass.
So maybe that's it. It's if it was more money, you'd be like, oh, I understand.
If it was like 200, I'd be like, that's justifiable.
I'm with you. But it's got to be cheap enough to where you're like, all right, guys, take it easy.
Under 100? Okay.
Yeah.
Big deal. Can't you just go next weekend or something? Yeah,
I mean, just call it a wash. Your wife's got, plumbing problems. Like, let's just call this whole weekend a wash, maybe.
Russ doesn't feel comfortable enough to tell you he doesn't want to play football anymore.
Again, communication is key. This family needs to all sit together.
Yeah.
Not only talk, but listen. Let's listen
That's
a little bit.
Right.
One of the next scenes is they're all kind of waking up from the morning, and Amy's washing herself in one of the
pee puddles.
The pee puddles, thank you. And it's mud, and she goes, I can't believe some stores charge for this stuff. Is that meaning like a facial, like mud? Like what is the mud that she's referring to stores charging for?
Maybe.
That threw me off. Where I was like,
a mud bath.
A mud bath, maybe. But even still, I'm like, well, you would go to a place to get pampered and have a mud bath. Are you buying mud to bring home? Like it threw me for a loop.
There's a lot of questions.
It was another one of those have a ball baby lines where I'm
I also don't know what mall she goes to, so I don't know what they have there.
That's true. That's fair.
Who knows?
So they find the cookie. My first thought was, how old is this cookie? But I guess
again, because if you found a cookie in your backyard, I don't care the size of said cookie. Cam found gum in a wrapper in the parking lot.
No,
and he was going to eat it. I'm like, he goes, it's in a wrapper. I'm like, yeah, but also on the ground.
Fair, but no. Yeah.
An oatmeal cookie
in the yard.
With
scorpions and ants afoot.
And a sprinkler system.
That thing is going to be nasty.
It's waterlogged.
Yeah.
I'm not eating it.
The quality of that thing is not.
No,
it's not up to snuff. So at this point, after these things happening, I've said we've now entered a new genre of movie, which is children's horror movies, which includes this and Willy Wonka. It's very much fun at first until it's not fun anymore. Like it's its own new category.
Would you like some other not fun things?
Please, so many more.
Dead or alive.
Now, one of these may be spoiled. I think I wasn't actively searching.
But I bet you saw it. And that is the horrifying part. All right, so we'll start with some other ones first.
Well, maybe I'm hoping we're thinking of different ones. That would make this even better.
I bet we're not. Matt Frewer, who is Big Russ Thompson.
Yeah.
Dead or alive?
He's alive.
He is alive.
Okay. And doing well. Yelling at his wife.
I'm sure. I'm sure he's doing really well. Ron Thompson, so Jared Rushton, our boy.
He's alive.
He's very much alive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good job, Billy.
Diane Zielinski, Marcia Strassman.
She's left this mortal coil. She's passed.
She did. She died in 2014. Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
And then, I'm sure the reason why we're here, Tommy Purvis, the neighbor that mows the lawn, Carl Steven.
Tommy Purvis. Rest in peace.
He is dead. Do you know why he's dead, Nicholas?
See, I did not see that.
Okay. Well, he died in 2011 at age 36 from a heroin overdose in prison. He developed an addiction to pills and medication following a tonsillectomy. He would sometimes steal to support his addiction. He was sentenced to 13 years in prison for armed robbery in 2010 and died in 2011 from said heroin overdose.
Wow. That was a roller coaster ride. That was as much of a thriller as this movie was.
So when you're talking about horror movie and maybe being a bit too adult,
okay,
I saw that. And then, not to knock Tommy Purvis, if someone from this movie is going to die of a heroin overdose, those headphones, you're mowing lawns at just after daybreak. I can't trust him.
He reminded me, now thinking about him, he reminded me of, is Free Willy the movie with the opener where they steal the cake out of the van?
Yes.
Okay.
And they eat it with ketchup.
So there's the kid who's pitching Let's Go out of town.
Yeah.
He's gives me, I know he's not the same.
Yeah.
He's not the same person, but
Okay.
he's got Tommy Purvis vibes to me.
It's just like a slimy, older.
Yeah.
And
Although Tommy's kind of
older than
nice.
Nick.
Tommy seems more nice. The other guy's more of a shiesty.
That's true.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I thought my parents were weird, which...
Everyone thinks the Slinskys are weird. I guess for good reason.
I mean, they are.
Yeah. Big Russ, they call the cops to report their kids missing.
Yeah.
And he's yelling at the cops the whole time. Like, you're the ones who called them. Are you not?
This reminded me a lot of the cops in Home Alone, where it's like, are you competent? Are you not?
Yeah.
You're sending us round and round and round. And you have the one guy just going, It's the same thing as the guy eating the donut. Like, is your child laugh?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But he's upset.
Cops are not viewed in a great light.
No. And Russ, there's no one that Big Russ won't yell at. He's
letting it rip.
He doesn't let off the gas pedal. And and so that interaction I said about earlier was like the wife is airing out some of their dirty laundry. Like it seems awful. Like, is this a domestic disturbance call? Like we can't
accidentally admitting things like, oh, what about those unpaid parking tickets and the gun under our bed that you didn't pay for?
Oh,
like, okay, maybe let's not talk about that right now, honey.
Yeah, well, maybe he ran away because you yelled at him. Well, I didn't yell at him. It's like I'm waiting for the cops to be like, "Are we arresting you today? Is that why we're here now? Is this changing?"
That's what it seems like.
Yeah, the scene where Wayne confesses to shrinking the kids is like a perfect TV 90s movie, like sitcom-y, like, whoa, blah, 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 like fumbling it around. And you did what?
And
perfectly done.
The mom fainting.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Just
while the cops are there.
Home Alone 2. Yep. The Kevin faint. And I don't know who has the better faint. It's a great question.
Definitely a Mount Rushmore.
Both. Mom fainting, they're top 2 of 4 for sure.
Yep. And so then we get to Big Russ. He goes outside. He's smoking. He flicks the cigarette, which nearly, kills multiple. Impales Auntie, lights the kids on fire. Again, I feel like maybe one of the quiet endorsers of this movie is Marlboro. This movie brought to you by Marlboro cigarette.
Camels, actually.
Yeah. They were cool. He was a coolest man. Yeah. And also they kind of endear you to the cigarette smoking. He's only smoking because he's worried. Like, oh.
But it was helpful because now they have heat.
Now they have torches. It almost killed them, but now we have light and heat.
Even Mom Szalinski was saying, oh, like it's so cold out there. She's rubbing her shoulders. I don't know how cold it is at ground level.
True.
I'd have to look into the research. Nick did not tell me anything about the temperature, but
something. It
seemed chilly.
It seemed chilly enough. But why is everyone so hard on the Szalinskis for their yard? Their yard is not in bad shape. As a dad, as someone who mows yards frequently, and as someone who's a fan of mowing yards as well, that yard is not in bad shape. If once the jokes start, I'm like, oh, this thing is gonna look awful, and it's like it's not even in that bad a shape.
It's long.
But
then when Tommy cuts it, it looks like it's been cut at the root level. So
listen, something for dads to get together and talk about.
One or the other, they don't mow in a pattern. I'm already agitated.
He's going in circles.
My heart is racing every time I see that.
That's the real horror movie. What's this yard gonna look like after Tommy's done?
Are you
with it?
trimming afterward? Yeah. Are you edging? What is your process like? They definitely don't fertilize.
No. There's no angled pattern going on. There's no lines.
No,
it's out of control.
As someone who obsesses over my yard, I concur.
Stressful.
There are worse yards out there.
Yeah, easy on the Szalinskis. So then they're looking for the kids. They're hanging from their contraption from ropes. I love the mom, like the dismount from them, like no warning at all to Wayne.
The ripcord.
Just rip, like she's close to the ground, so she's like, "Oh, screw you." She rips hers, and then he just goes flying. I was like, it just felt like such a random, like non sequitur. Just like let's throw in a joke, like let's send Dad flying. I just was like, why'd you do Wayne so dirty?
From Quark.
Yes.
She rips it and they both fall to the ground.
Yeah.
If the kids are there, he's squashing them. You're being really delicate until you're not.
Exactly. There's so many parts where they're like taking such special care, but then the next thing you're like, oh, you could have killed them just doing what you just did.
You're walking with crutches, but yeah. Sometimes they care. Sometimes they're like, well, what are the odds that they're right underneath me right now?
Right. Big Russ drops the line, "This guy is a waste of skin." I was like, that's a murder. That's a murderer's line. Like Bundy would have said that.
And really, is he? That's harsh.
Is he really a waste of skin?
That's really harsh.
You're a Big Russ. Take it easy, man. Take it down a notch.
I do have some unanswerable questions.
Yes.
So I think this is Ron Thompson says, all right, Nick, tell me the truth. Could your dad help us? What are the options at this point? You've been shrunk. If Nick goes, no, we're screwed.
Right. We're in it.
How does this change the rest of your day?
True, fair.
Are you like, well, all right,
Yeah.
we had a good run. I'm going to stay in the garbage bag?
I'm going to find this oatmeal cream pie and just go live in there.
Come on. Next question. When the machine shrinks the couches and the kids, how does it move side to side by itself?
I definitely saw that and I was like, I'm equal parts impressed that he's invented the shrink ray and also that it has auto tracking. Like, what is? I was like, this is like levels.
Is it finding images? Because if it got the wall, does the whole house shrink? This could be a much larger problem. Not everyone is just like squashed to death.
Yes, that's true. This could again a previous
Horror
write up
movie.
this is prime for a horror movie.
And then my question, so it took Wayne this long to get the machine to a semi-working state where all it needed was a baseball to apparently cool the laser down enough.
Yeah.
No other item could cool it down because they used said baseball again.
Right.
Could Wayne actually repair the shrink ray that quickly? He's got to take parts from the clock in the kitchen. He stays up all night. And then he's
That's
like,
an unanswerable
it works, except we just got to put the baseball here. Well, let's try it on someone first. How about let's try on an inanimate object first before we put a human in the way?
And Wayne, he's like, I'll do it. Big Russ is like, no, I'll do it. I'm like, why are any of you
don't know
and like trying to raise your hand at this?
And
like,
again, a near-death experience.
Yeah.
He's sitting on the edge of this metal chair, barely holds on. I don't know how tall that chair is, but if he's a quarter of an inch, you're falling how far?
Yeah.
That is
not very well.
That is
out.
death.
Yep.
And no one seems to care. They're like, he's good. His hat may not fit perfectly when he comes back, but he'll be fine.
It'll be fine. It'll be all right. And so they're looking for the kids in the yard all day. Then it gets to nighttime. They're like, all right, well, let's pack it in. I'm like, do you not have flashlights? Like, who? The mom's like, no, I'm going to stay out here. But you're a wacky scientist. You've got to have something you invented at some point that's like emits light like 1/10 of the sun. Like, there's something you've made that could help you in this situation.
Or some like spy equipment. Like you can't listen in the yard. Put a microphone in the yard with like one of those boom mics. Something. I would assume if they're calling out to them, they could just listen. Or Quark clearly heard what was going on.
Yeah. Are you not worried about some creature or animal of the night coming through? Like, no. Well, let's get some shut eye. We'll
I think
get
Wayne
you on the
even says that. He's like, they're with the Thompson kids. They'll be fine. Like, that's
what Mom goes. Well, that's what I'm worried about.
Right.
Amy and little Russ. Like,
because my kids are just shrunk. I'm worried about
how horny they are.
Yeah.
And also so that the mom has at the very least picked up that there's something there even before the daughter knew. Like, she's intuitive.
Mom knows. Mom always knows.
A mother knows.
Yeah.
So there's a conversation between Amy and little Russ after that, where little Russ drops the line, "The bigger the guy, the bigger the moon." Again, another one of these lines that feels like there's something to it, but I'm like, is this anything? Is this an actual?
I did not catch that line.
Yeah, the bigger the guy, the bigger the moon. Still marinating that one in my head.
Okay.
This is right before the kids make out, and don't just kiss, open mouth kiss.
Oh
for a good minute. And this is where we introduced the scorpion. I wrote down a scorpion. What the hell? Like, all of a sudden now there are bigger, more scary bugs coming to the situation. But Auntie, he held his own. He was in it for a while. Like, if you put an ant and a scorpion in a
I
ring,
Googled it.
Yeah,
I did Google it.
There used to be I remember there's some YouTube channel where they would just put bugs together.
Yes. So I think army ants and green ants, it looked like, can hold their own.
Okay.
But ants typically only eat termites. Did not know that.
Okay, fair.
A carpenter ant, he's not going to stand a chance
that's a wrap.
against a scorpion.
That's a wrap.
But again, he died. So at first I was really against that plot point.
Right.
But I feel like it was probably accurate.
Yeah, you got to pull the heartstrings a little bit. And they're really upset. I mean,
they tried to save it. I mean, they almost died against it. I think I would just be like, I'm fine hiding in this Lego. I can't imagine the scorpion's able to get me in there.
Yeah, let's take the lesser of two evils here. Let's look out for ourselves.
But then they designed this whole booby trap thing. Did you catch that?
No.
So after the scorpion leaves, they have this whole fortress that they have used rope and all different pulleys and levers and catapults.
This is Ron
and
earlier in the movie when he sets the whole arrow thing up. He's got the knowledge
apparently
too. Yeah.
I never even caught on that, but I bet you're right. I bet you he was a mastermind of that, because they had torches and things. I don't know if there were any bells involved.
Yeah.
Like a warning system, but it looked pretty elaborate.
Right. Yeah. This is where they find Tommy. They hear a lawnmower going. They go, "Oh, that's just a lawnmower." And they see Tommy. They see Tommy out there. So the parents come flying out, and then they stop. They don't my immediate thought is, "Oh, go grab the remote out of his hand," but they just stand 10 feet away and yell at him with his headphones on. I was like,
they don't want to go in the grass.
At the very least, can you tug at his shirt? Can you throw a ball at his head? Get something to knock his headphones off. I guess I didn't pick up on him being in the grass. Maybe that's
he's in the grass. They don't want to step on the grass.
Okay.
That's why they go through the house. It'll be safer.
Yeah.
But yeah, at that point, he's mowing the lawn with blades.
I think there's no time
blades
to
are
waste.
sharp.
Yeah.
I think I would. I mean, even tackling him is probably a better option.
Everything's on the table is my point.
Yeah.
And this is where Ron drops, "I'm not panicked. Nobody's panicked." And he's screaming at another line that made me laugh.
Pretty funny.
There's some good lines in here.
Nick seems to get the brunt of the issues in this movie. He always gets sucked into a lawnmower.
Yep.
He's on a bee.
Mm-hmm.
He's almost eaten alive by a scorpion.
Yep. Falls in the pollen. Yeah. He's.
And Amy, falls in dirt water and almost drowns.
Yeah.
But the Thompsons kind of get out unscathed.
Yeah.
There's not a ton that really happens.
That's
to
true.
them.
It's the Szalinskis.
They're soft. Yeah. I think that's the problem. Maybe Big Russ is onto something. He's prepared his boys way better.
Yeah. And Russ, again, maybe it's just this panicked, this stressed energy he always carries with him. He sees Wayne and he's yelling at him to get moving. He's like, "You better get it, Szalinski." It's like, "Yeah, no, we're on it. This is our kids too. It's not just yours."
Yes.
You
the
yelling is actually helping.
Helps.
You know what? I wasn't thinking, and now I'm thinking clear. Thank you. It's bringing.
It's like
clarity.
someone saying, "Be careful."
Yeah.
Oh, well, I wasn't. Yeah. Now I'll be careful.
Thank you. They finally see the kids at some point, and they're trying to hear what he's saying.
Yeah. When they're on the spoon.
Yeah. Or they're mimicking baseball. They're trying to throw. Yeah. Get the baseball. I have to throw the baseball. This is where Russ drops the line. "It's semaphore, May."
What is that?
So that's immediately I go, well, now I got to Google what this is. Semaphore, a method of visual signaling, usually means by using flags or lights. Before the invention of the telegraph, semaphore signaling from high towers was used to transmit messages between distant points. Again, this is one of those I'm like,
out of here.
Couldn't you? Russ is not saying semaphore.
No.
He would have just said, charades or signing.
Unless he went to school as an aviation expert, motioning in planes on a runway.
He does not know what a semaphore is.
No. I don't buy that for a second.
No. And that to the point where when he said it, I was like, no.
I just took it as gibberish. I'm ignoring that word.
So, but it makes sense because earlier there's that review with all those big, someone's trying to shoehorn some big words in this movie that I'm not with it. And this is where they nominate themselves to be Shrunk. I don't know why anyone's. I guess Wayne has grounds because it's his invention.
And Quark left the room and they're like, well, that's that. I guess we're jumping to humans.
But then all is well. The families are brought together again. The kids are playing footsie with each other under the table.
Yeah.
They're eating.
And wear some nicer shoes. It's Thanksgiving, for God's sakes.
Class it up. Well, I couldn't fully tell what they were eating. I assumed it was just a giant turkey. I thought it was an ant head or something. I couldn't tell.
But it would have to be a quail or something. Because if it expands that much,
it's huge.
A normal turkey would be the size of a car.
Yep.
That's way too big. The dog treat seemed appropriately sized.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So whatever. Maybe they saved money and they just had, a tiny little quail.
And this is where they have the Nick throws the French joke, the French class joke as the callback. And it's a nice little button with the Warner Brothers zoom in. An excellent button.
Yeah.
So we've now gone through the whole movie. We got through it.
We did.
Casting options. Are you aware of
No.
some of the options for casting?
No.
Some real heavy hitters. Now I was kind of thinking there's going to be a lot of other roles, but it's mainly Rick Moranis' role, Wayne's role. Chevy Chase
saw that.
and John Candy both turned down the role.
Yep.
Chevy Chase was filming Christmas Vacation, so he was not available, which to me is one of those great what ifs because Christmas Vacation is just an all-time movie.
Yeah.
That if we don't get that or we get somebody else in that role, that would have the butterfly effect of that would have.
Plus, I can't picture Chevy Chase as a quirky scientist.
No. So it ends up everyone made the right decision.
Yeah. Well done, team.
And I said this is also what happened with Ghostbusters.
Saw that too.
John Candy. But you said the Canadian connection.
Yeah.
SCTV. He's looking out for his boy. Good on him. I also saw Martin Short was initially attached to play Wayne. but was later replaced by Rick Moranis.
Trivia and facts.
For the scene where they drop in the bowl of Cheerios, they filled a tank with 16,000 gallons of milk-like substance.
Saw that.
And the Cheerios are made from tractor inner tubes, 12 feet in diameter, coated in foam. It looks great. It looks awesome.
It does.
It's so good. And my first thought is I want to go there. I want to be in that. If I'm a kid, I want to be in the bowl of Cheerios. Like, that would be just a hoot.
Even if you don't like milk.
No.
Still be fun.
It'd be fun. Just for a minute, just for a dip. Teeny Weenies, the original title.
Yeah.
Did you see that there were two other titles that got batted around?
No, I got stuck
Teeny
on Teeny
Weenies
Weenies.
is... We always get stuck
That's
on
as
a
far
Teeny
as I
Weenie.
got.
That's all you need. It's far and away the winner of the three, but Grounded and The Big Backyard, which to me pale in comparison to Teeny Weenies, because it's just such a home run of a movie name.
I don't like any of those. Again, I think Honey, I Shrunk the Kids nails it.
It absolutely nails it.
If you can describe the plot
Yeah.
with the title, you did it, especially for a kids movie.
And also now if you go into the future, you go, oh, Teeny Weenies is a hit. What are we naming these other movies? Kids Teeny Weenies? No, the adult Teeny Weenies? Like, how are we playing?
Giant wieners, because Honey, I Blew Up the Baby.
Honey,
I can't do that. It was good foresight.
Yeah.
That would not have worked.
It wouldn't have worked. And there was a lot of, there's multiple stories of lawsuits around this movie, ranging from the theme song that got used, that ended up, they went to court for. The houses that they built in the movie looked like other people's actual houses, so those families wanted restitution.
I mean, wasn't everything just the studio?
It was, but they based those movies off of those houses, off of real houses. So those families wanted to get paid. The screenplay, somebody else wrote a screenplay that was kind of like it.
I saw that.
So some of these they had to pay on. I think the theme song they did, but the other ones I don't know that they did. So a lot of people going to bed. I mean, probably once people found out they made $222 million, they were like, where's my payday?
Right.
So are you aware that there is more on the horizon for Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
No.
Well, buckle up.
Tell me, Nick.
Tell the kids. Gather around, family. On February 21st, 2018, it was announced the live-action remakes of several films are in development as exclusive content for Disney+, one of those being Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. It was later confirmed that a legacy sequel film titled Shrunk is in development to be released theatrically with a plot that centers around Nick Szalinski as an adult scientist. Josh Gad signed on to star as Nick.
Come on.
On December 5th, 2019, it was reported that Joe Johnston, that director, is back to direct. On February 12, 2020, it was reported that Rick Moranis will come out of his semi-retirement to reprise his role.
Get the team back together.
And
yes.
Johnston is now confirmed to direct. The plot will center around Nick accidentally shrinking his two daughters and son to 5 inches tall, and them coping with their new sizes while he gets his estranged father, Wayne, to help him fix his machine.
So Josh Gad is going to play Nick?
Josh Gad is going to play Nick. Julia Butters has been rumored to play Nick's daughter, Sarah, and Robin Adele Anderson as the babysitter, Teresa, who also ends up getting shrunk. So, I mean, this is a movie that is, at this point, 5 years in the works.
Is this happening then, or
who's to say? So don't be surprised in the next year or two if you see a trailer for Shrunk.
Okay.
On your Disney Plus. Now, what are our thoughts? Is this movie appropriately rated? Do we recommend it?
I said, heck yes.
Yeah.
Love this movie still to this day.
Holds up.
Absolutely. I watched it twice. First time was just kind of like taking some notes here and there. Second time I actually was like trying to listen more and take different things in. But yeah, I will watch this. Absolutely.
No
the boys were hooked.
Yep. Enjoyed it.
I'm in.
I think they can now, when Disney Plus does their slate of Halloween movies, I think they can slide this one in. I think this one can easily just get peppered into the mix. You know, if you're looking to add content to your Halloween slate, I think Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, I think it holds
With
its
the
own.
little backstory, yeah. Maybe a behind the scenes to shed more light on it.
I mean, and especially if you can alter the way the ants look, to your point, how they actually look, that's an easy sell.
Terrifying.
All day.
Thank you for listening. Please follow, rate, review, like, and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and tune in next week when we review another cinematic masterpiece from our childhood. Until then...